room for you.
I can't believe it. I can't believe it. Football, bloody hell. But they never give in. And that's the winner.
Welcome to the American Red Devils podcast. I'm John.
I'm Alex.
And we're bringing you the best Manchester United news from this side of the pond.
Woo, sir. How we doing? How we doing? Rasmus is red. It is the 5th of August. The regular season is right around the corner. I cannot believe it. My wife is like, it's back already. You bet your ass it's back. Manchester United are coming back. We're doing a season preview tomorrow, sir. But today, we're talking about the latest Manchester United American Red Devils survey. Also talking about everything going on in the news. Lots happening at the club. Playing Lens at the moment. Talking about practice. But most importantly, we have our new number 9. The Dane has arrived. Introduced at halftime during the preseason game against the French Minnows. And unfortunately, he's injured. That's the only bummer today. Looks great in red. Looks a great lad. Nice guy. And I'm excited to see him link up with the rest of the players. But we need strikers more than Rasmus, and we need goals more importantly. And to miss out on that at the beginning of the season without anyone waiting in the wings, I'm hearing no other noise. Harry Kane, a lot of messaging about him going to Bayern. I'm not sure I believe it yet. But either way, it was what I'm getting at. We need more strikers, sir. You can't just have one, and you can't just have one who's unproven moving to the hardest league in the world. But either way.
And injured.
That's a hell of a combo.
Are you ready for that false 9, Jadon Sancho against
Jesus
Wolves?
Christ.
Here we go, Manchester
Christ.
United. What a year. What a offseason.
It's going to be fun.
They need more of a break. I was saying, like, if I had to call
Insane.
it, you need at least 6 weeks more because they should have more time off. And honestly, like the
They get
season
3 weeks
starting
off.
is like,
That's
I
nuts.
cannot believe it. It's hard to wrap my head around. It's not enough time to do the transfer business, really. That's why United leaving our transfers so late every year. We were ahead of the curve this year, or we're not even going to have a number 9. That's how insane the offseason is, but it's also saying that's why you got to be off the mark so early in your transfer business. As soon as the window opens, you got to be signing strikers or loaning strikers in. Like, we got to get the business we should have been chippy with or creative and getting guys in early should have been done. And then obviously Hoyling, you can add to that the fact that we're got rid of Wout Weghorst, and now the solution is Jadon Sancho at false 9, who had a horrid season last year. It's incredible for the team that might trade for £6 billion. The greatest English football. We've won it all, sir, 20 times. Like, you got to be kidding me. Like, we need a number 9 leading the line against Wolves. We will not have one. And for me, that's just a failure of the front office. You need 3-4 strikers. Realistically, we're going to have pretty much none when we kick off against Wolves. Tony Martial made a glass. It's hard to count him there.
And he's injured, so there you go. Got himself out.
He got healthy for like a match in preseason, got injured. But this is the same old story. So what do you expect? And to say, yes, there have been encouraging signs in the transfer market, but having that big of a hole where the manager is going to be playing a false 9 to start the season while you have an up-and-coming young kid who has a knock, sir, come on. This is just Manchester United that we're used to. How are you going to challenge Shitty? How are you going to go after the Gunners who are on the rise as well if this is how we're starting the season?
Well, we're not challenging nobody, so just keep that in mind as we approach next season.
Well, we should.
Keep that in mind. Yeah, well, whether we should or we could or we would or we will, it's all different things. So, yes, we should be challenging, but based on where we are, we're not going to be because they got certain things right. They got players in early. They got players who are going to be an upgrade for the squad in terms of how Erik ten Hag wants to play and the players he wanted. But arguably the most important one, obviously we needed a new goalie with De Gea leaving, but we needed a striker. We needed 2 strikers. And we're not hearing any noise about that second striker. We're only hearing noise about another midfielder. I guess that makes sense given we're going to, in theory, sell a bunch of midfielders, maybe Fred. Donnie, I can't believe anyone's going to give us money for Donnie. I think it's going to be a loan and even maybe McSauce. But I think we need another body, like a better Wout, like a different Gallo. Just get me somebody. He can be old, but we need a goal scorer who can come in and take some pressure off Rasmus because he's a kid. Like I said, the hardest league in the world, and the Aston Villas and the Brightons of the world are going to be chomping their bits at like taking it at him. And every club around EPL are going to be laughing and with the daggers out ready to go after the lad. So we got to protect him. And part of that is making sure we don't put too much pressure on him too early. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of pressure.
He's going to be
playing
drowning
for
in
Manchester
pressure.
United.
He's going to be drowning in
High
pressure.
transfer fee, but we got to do what we can by taking the burden off and
How?
having to have goals elsewhere. You need to have another striker. Martial, Jesus Christ, he ain't it. They need another body, and we're not hearing anything about no extra bodies because we spent a lot of money already, and we've got players to sell, and they're not selling. That's the truth of it. We are not selling players.
There's two sides of the coin in the summer. There's the buying and the selling. United have struggled to sell for a decade, and our struggles continue. I've always expected like the Harry Magoo to come down to the last minute. That is kind of how you can get the panic payment from West Ham if they're looking for it. Regardless, United starting the season, and you know what is something that is tradition under the Glazers? It is taking what you got into the season, getting kicked in the teeth, and then realizing you need a striker. So I imagine we're going to be starting Sancho at false 9 against Wolves, and then we're going to realize, oh no, we need to panic buy for Harry Kane. That's usually how we're very reactive in our business. We usually have a surge late at the deadline. That's how we got Gallo in. Wout was, I think, a reaction to getting rid of Ronaldo or not replacing him when the manager wanted originally. You're going to see something like that probably at the death. I'm hoping a Harry Kane deal can be done. I'm hoping we're talking behind the scenes right now. Hoping, maybe praying we get Harry Kane.
More than hope. We need more than hope.
Because we need goals. Quick PSA for the podcast. If you like the America Red Devils and you like the Muppet Take, straight to you from the couch in Northern California. Support us on Patreon. We don't have any sponsors on the podcast. Tons of benefits on our Patreon page. The creme de la creme of America Red Devils fans. Join them. Patreon.com/America Red Devils. Great way to support the pod. If Patreon's not your thing, check out our store, americaredevils.store. We have merch. Our new scarf coming in for our new manager, Eric Ten Hag, will be in stock shortly. Also, check out our blog, americaredevils.com. Great news, information about the team, history, etc. Please check it out. Also, like, subscribe, and social. Do all the normal stuff everyone yips at you to do. And start telling them about iTunes reviews. Great way to support the pod.
They are a great way to support the pod. iTunes reviews or 5-star reviews of the America Red Devils podcast. Wherever you listen, they help us get found organically by other Muppets like yourself. And even better, we're doing free giveaways. We're giving away a free Manchester United American Red Devil design scarf. All you have to do is write that 5-star review, send a screenshot to americareddevils@gmail.com with your mailing address, and I will personally pick, pack, and ship a free scarf. Send it right to your door anywhere in the world. Here's a great one from Ryan Johnson, NC, the best American United content. I've tried to follow quite a few United pods over the last few years, but the ARD pod is easily the best one I've found. The content is always on time and relatively unbiased. So we're biased. The guys do a great job separating the stories from emotion most of the time and always have great insights. We'll be a lifelong listener. Thank you, Ryan. And thank you, everybody, writing those 5-star reviews. We are biased. We are biased. And we can't always, I tell you what, we can't always separate fact from emotion. That's part of being a fan of this great club, especially a great club that's kind of on its knees a little bit with this Glazer ownership. I just wrote an article about them sucking the life out of this great entity that is Manchester United. We're hearing both sides, so we're going to talk about it in a little bit. We're going to talk about the news. We'll talk about the preseason game that's going on right now as we do the pod before 7 a.m. on a Saturday, like you said, in Northern California. Manchester United versus Lens. Should we go there first?
Pod never sleeps. We're getting up at 5:45 to record early, sir. We got little kids. We got a lot of things. We got a lot of big plans today. Big Saturday,
Wives.
Home Depot,
yeah.
Bed Bath & Beyond. Let's see if we have enough time.
There you go. Nailed it.
But before then, Manchester United versus Lens just finished up. United 3, Lens 1. Let's get into that lineup. This could be the preview for what we're going to see to start the season. Nana in net. He's looking pretty solid. Did give up a little bit of a howler today. Shaw, Martinez, Varane, Delot backline. That looks to be it. Mount, Casemiro, Bruno midfield. Garnacho on the left. Marcus Rashford playing out of position as striker. And Antony on the right. That's probably the starting 11 for versus Wolves. It looks like Sancho, false 9 might not be the move, but why play our best player out of position? Didn't work in the first half. United come back in the second, scoring 3 goals. Rashford in the 48th. Antony in the 53rd and Casemiro in the 59th. beating Lens 3-1. We're talking about practice. Fans melting down on Twitter after the first half. It was funny seeing everybody criticize all the players. And then now we're amazing because we won in the second half. I will let you know that if we lost the game, I view that as a more positive indicator going into the regular season than winning preseason games. Performing in preseason is just watch any of the goals we scored. The pace isn't there. The heavy touch by Anthony on the second will be closed down in the EPL. The intensity, it's just, you can't rate the game. It's fitness. Glad to see the lads score at home, build confidence, get some more minutes together. As far as what's going to happen against Wolves, I think it's going to be on a knife's edge. I don't think you can replicate the intensity in the EPL. You got it. That's how it always works. You have some preseason games, feel good. You go into the season, no one's fit. Wolves isn't fit, and they're going to all try to play at this breakneck pace. The team won't be fit for 6 or 8 games, and it's going to be a coin flip during that period. You hope that you don't drop too many points, and then it's off to the races for the real deal after that.
There you go, sir. I think that lineup is pretty close. I think AWB is going to get a spot back below a little bit of an average first half, and at the same time, I'd rather have Marcus Rashford. I know he's one of our best players. I know he's better on the left than he's up front, but he's better up front than Jadon Sancho's up front, so I'll take it. And like you said, you cannot replicate the pace and the physicality and the intensity of the EPL. That's coming real soon. We're going to have the first game of the season on Friday, and the United get their season going on Monday against Wolves, like you said. But this is practice. This is just, hey, we need goals. We need a lot of goals. Good to see some of the players picking up goals, players that scored a lot last year in Rashford. Anthony should have scored more. He did decent, though. And then Casemiro, of course. But either way, can't wait for what's coming up next. Done with preseason. And
we have Athletic Club tomorrow.
Well, I know, but that's
definition of not done with preseason. We're playing in Dublin.
Mentally.
We're jetting.
How are we going? We're more preseason. I mean, you mentioned this. You were right. You talked about how Jesus Christ, the amount of travel, the amount of games we've had. It's not just games. It's not like, we played 8 games in preseason, right? We were in Oslo. We were in Edinburgh. We were all over the States, East Coast, West Coast, Texas, like back to the mountains and going to Nevada. And then now we're back in Manchester. And the fact that they're still going to do another cash grab in the form of playing a Dublin match tomorrow, it must be the kids. Because they're not going to play back-to-back.
It's just going to be Ten Hag and the kids.
But still,
I'm sure Rashford's not going to
travel.
Ericsson,
what I was getting at is that Ericsson was like, they're like, hey, how was preseason? They're like, it's been great, but to be honest, it's been a lot. This has been a lot. And you know what? It's been a lot. Like, I heard Ten Hag pushing back, but this is kind of that, like, cash above everything else incentive and motivation of Manchester United, Glazers, numpty front office, is that they're always going to put money ahead of even the success of the team, the well-being of the players, the coach, the staff. Dude, the fact that they're still doing more preseason or a week out from the EPL start, I know they need minutes, but you don't need to go to fucking Dublin.
This is horrific.
A lot of United fans in Ireland. It's super popular. You'll know this if you ever go and watch Manchester United, is you meet a ton of Irish Reds, and they're a huge part of this great fan base. But the fact that we're still keeping the cash grab going like a week out is a little disappointing. But what do I expect? This is Manchester United run by Glazer FC, so there you go.
Well, let's get into it. Let's talk about the sales story. United in the news here. Great transition.
Didn't even expect it.
United in the news. I mean, here, there, everywhere. The places you will go. The Manchester United takeover discussions remain ongoing despite rumblings on for almost 9 months. Look, everyone's saying that this whole thing taking 9 to 12 months is outlandish. It's not. It's like they're selling a multi-billion-dollar asset. It is complicated. It is not straightforward. And it sounds to me the biggest part of the process taking long is nobody's met their valuation. I think as we left it, there's been silence in the process, which isn't a good sign because Qatar is leaking like a sieve to Sky Cave, giving you the moment to moment, we're going to do a deal, we're confident, we're this and that, which is all air. I mean, these guys are hysterical how much they thought they won the deal before they won it. Also, everyone celebrating on socials is a little weird, like Rio saying it's done. That's Qatar coming from Qatar, right? It's not coming from the Glazers. So if you don't hear anything, that's not a good sign. But Sir Jim Ratcliffe or Sheikh Hassim could always bid more, or like they could always say, "Hey, I want to go to the $6 billion number," and the deal could get done. So maybe the Glazers had a drop dead date to meet evaluation, and that drop dead date is the Wolves match. Maybe it's 2 months from now. Who knows? This process, it can be done in any way they want, and I have a feeling that both camps kind of put pencils down because the Glazers said we need X dollars, and they're currently mulling it over. It sounds to me like Jim's out. Sheikh Hassim, I've seen some rumblings from some Muppets about how he wants to come in and buy it. Anything's possible is what I'm saying. If the Glazers put down a number and said meet that number, it's up to the two buyers. And if the two buyers don't meet that number, then I'm sure there's going to be some strategic capital coming out of the United States, and we'll all be disappointed, and the billion fans will scream out and cry at once about the sale. Apparently, we're going to get that announcement before the season. At this point, I'm just going to wait for the announcement because everything else is people watching the stock go up and thinking that Qatar is going to buy them, people watching the stock go down and thinking the deal is done. I don't think people know if there's a deal or not. I don't even know if the Glazers know. So how could anyone on Twitter know? So at the end of the day, let's wait for the press release. It's coming before the start of the season, hopefully, and we can put this behind us in either direction. But I am just hopefully optimistic, I would say. Careful. I'm careful here with my feelings, but I'm assuming Glazers are going nowhere.
Yeah, I'm resigned that they're staying. Like you said, it's not untypical for a deal to take this long to close, of course, but I think to even not have an announced bidder or preferred bidder after 9 months, that's a little long, I would think. You've done this a lot more than I have, but I think that's probably a combination of the fact that there aren't that many buyers, and there are even fewer buyers that can hit that valuation, right? Because they have such a lofty expectation about what this club should trade for that not that many people are going to willing to go to £6 billion. We're hearing everything under the roof. I'm done speculating. I'm assuming they're staying around based on the amount of money we're spending, right? Because if the Glazers, it could go a bunch of different ways, but I feel like they're not going nowhere. So that is what it is. The club will continue to flounder and suffer at the hands of the Glazers because they control everything. They control whether or not to bring Mason Greenwood back. They control whether or not to hire John Murtaugh, Richard Arnold. They control. The best was this is the best, sir. Was they're like somebody said something about the Glazers staying, and they're like, and the lack of investment. They're like, we're putting $6 million in the new Old Trafford re-up. And it's like they touted
Carrington.
They touted a $6 million investment, bro. It's like the city.
Come on, man.
City are bidding $300 million to update their brand new stadium. So it's like. They can't gaslight us no more. They've been gaslighting us for 2 decades. So when they stay, we got to keep the heat on them. They don't really care. I mean, I think the sponsors care a little bit, but obviously we'll talk about Adidas news in a second. They don't care that much because they decided a bumper deal for another fucking decade. So this has been exhausting for all fans. It's going to stay exhausting. I don't see I'd love to be wrong, but I don't see a scenario where there's some announcement that makes us all feel better as of next week. Because if there's a buyer, maybe that can happen next week. I doubt it.
It
and
can
if they don't. Why
the
do they have
price.
to announce anything, sir? If they decide hey, we're just indefinitely sidelining this transaction process, they don't need to say nothing. They just be they just kick the can, right?
Most companies who come out and announce they're exploring a sale update that they provide an update on that process. But when it comes to the 9-month process, it's because no one's met their price, right? So that's really they're trying to basically drag it out of these guys, drag the billions of dollars out. And from what I can read with the tea leaves, is there's probably a 5.45, and the Glazers are not thrilled about selling in the first place. And the only way they would do it would be at $6 billion, and they're not there. And oh, by the way, the Qataris, if you invest money after you buy something, that doesn't add to the price. But you said it, sir. Let's talk about the Adidas deal. We'll keep you posted on the sale, but I would, again, be cautiously optimistic and just wait for the press release because nobody knows nothing. No. The Adidas deal did get signed, did get announced, came out of left field. $1.1 billion, 900 million pounds, 10 years of Adidas kits look, everybody has look. This is a good deal for Manchester United. Probably not a great deal for fans who are not pumped on the Glazers because this is a big cash infusion for them. Probably negotiated as such with a lot up front. Adidas really wants to pay us a lot of money. United have been in decline over the last decade. I would imagine we'd be on like Puma or Umbro right now based on how well we've done.
Still Manchester United.
You know what I'm saying? Like, that's the sponsors are the ones who I'm surprised aren't going away. We probably are around like a Puma kit right about now, on the decline. Like Arsenal hit Puma, then they bounced back to Adidas. Yeah. I feel like when you're winning,
Puma's
you
a
get
death
Nike. When you're really like killing it, you're like a Nike kid. So look, everyone's got their personal preferences. I think like Adidas is probably more European. We're obviously the America Red Devils. Nike is worth, I think, 160 billion. Adidas is worth like 30 something, and floundering because I think the Kanye deal went south and he represented like half of their revenue. Yeah. So again, I just don't think Adidas is really like a serious company. I don't think they give United the attention that they deserve. The kits are just offensively bad, and and also it just comes to you're listening to the old grumpy old men on the porch because those Nike kits happen to be when United were just like lifting title after title. So maybe that's why I'm biased to Nike. Either way, like you like Adidas, that's awesome. You just got 10 more years. We're both Nike Muppets, so we're a little bummed here. But either way, club gets some money. And this shows the staying power of Manchester United's brand. And that's also a good sign, but probably a bad sign if you want the Glazers out.
No, 100%, because people are speculating, like, oh, with inflation, where does this fit in terms of how good of a deal was it? Many people are speculating, like you did, that like they probably committed to 10 years and gave them some discounts on the back years because they would get maybe a decent portion up front. We know how badly the club needs cash, the owners want cash. This is Manchester United. This is the biggest club in the world. So it goes without saying that we're going to command the biggest shirt deal, at least in England. So I get it, man. A lot of people like Adidas. A lot of our fans like Adidas. Even Yanks like Adidas. So to each his own. Not my favorite. They've had some decent ones. They've had a lot of eggs as well. A lot of not my favorite kits. That green long sleeve is tough to look at. But either way, they ain't going nowhere.
Peppermint patty, baby.
Let's talk about the good news, sir. Who we got? Press release. Here's what I'm talking about. OG official press release, 5th of August. Today's the day. Let's hear it.
Here we go.
To welcome our latest signing onto the pitch this afternoon. At the age of just 20, he has already scored 27 goals in 87 club appearances. He has 6 goals in 6 international games for his country, Denmark. He is a boyhood Manchester United fan and will now represent the greatest football club in the world with pride. Please give a huge welcome to Manchester United's newest forward, Rasmus Højlund.
There he is, the Dane, the frosted hair with the awkward part, the young man who hasn't figured out the right hairstyle yet, but you know what? We've all been there at the age of 20.
About to say that's an epic Scandinavian bowl cut. But we got some great barbers.
With the part,
they got some great barbers in the UK. I know a bunch of the lads.
Look, I'll tell you, okay.
He looks like a red.
You want to know what shoes he's wearing? He's wearing Jordans, Nike, baby. You already love the kid. Also got the warm-up pants, keeping it cash. I think Varane did the suit. I think Casemiro as well. He's saying all business, baby.
I'm a kid.
I'm all business. I don't need that suit. I don't want to sweat more than I don't need to. Waving up the fans. They're giving him the jersey in the center circle. This is the new thing, and we announced players.
No number announced.
No number announced just yet. That means there's probably a number negotiation going on behind the scenes. Look, huge deal for United. We got our number 9, and then the news broke. Samuel Luckhurst on Twitter. Højlund sustained a small issue during preseason training with Atalanta, so he's not ready to play. MUFC could take a few weeks for him to reach match fitness. Oh, that was a gut punch, like straight to the gut, sir. Air taken out of me. I expected him to start against Wolves. Need him to play. We need a striker. Dying for a number 9. Tough one, I just it's like when you want something for Christmas, package is delayed. Just a killer.
You don't get it. You're not getting it. This makes more sense now because they talked about his visa getting delayed coming from Denmark, his contract getting delayed a little bit. But I think even with those things considered, the fact that he's 20, if he was fit, he'd play in this game. I know they want to announce him at halftime, but like he needs the minutes. We are dying for goals and we're dying for number 9. So it makes sense that the only reason they would do it at halftime, which is class. I do like that. Is because the lad's injured and is not going to play against Wolves anyway. So let's get him up to speed ASAP. But I still am a little surprised. The signings that we're going after, apparently, after that we've gotten in Rasmus, is another midfielder. If we sell Fred, if we sell Donnie, if we sell McTominay, who knows? Because those things are all kind of stalling out a little bit. But I think we need another number 9, and we're not hearing very much about Kane other than from our side. So.
Well, that's because Kane's going to go at the deadline. It's just how it's set up to go. That's where Levy wants to play, and I also think Harry Kane is bad advice, and he's going to have like no spine.
10-year deal,
like
10-year deal.
Next one here. No decision made by Manchester United about Johnny Evans. United pleased and happy with Johnny's contribution during preseason. Not ruling anything out. Look, everyone loves Johnny Evans. I think he's been playing. He played well for Leicester. He came to join United during preseason. He's played well. I defer to the manager on this one. Obviously, I'm a Muppet, so I also met Johnny Evans in the Middle East. We were there for the World Cup, so he's a great lad. I like him a lot. He said he was going to come to MLS next, I think. So, we'll see. But this isn't going to move the needle. This isn't going to. Love you, Johnny, but you're not winning the title. This isn't the decision we got to worry about, at the end of the day. But it's a heartwarming story. We'll keep you posted there. And then the last one, Amrambat. I can't pronounce that name just yet. We don't focus on pronunciation until you join the team.
There you go.
Sophian, I think, is better to say. £30 million move. This is heating up again. Florentina, great passer in Serie A, midfield player. I like this move, but again, we're strengthening in certain areas, probably selling certain players, McTominay, Fred, and then you're bringing in 1, sell 2, get 1. Don't love that. We did get Mason Mount, but McTominay is the one I kind of have a bad taste in my mouth getting rid of. But if Ten Hag doesn't rate him, then we're going to go for this gentleman, and we shall see. But if that's it, that's the summer. I just kind of feel like we're leaving a lot on the table as far as goals and what we need. Now, obviously, a lot of that's driven by paying top dollar for Sancho and Antony and these guys that aren't scoring goals, but we still need them, and most importantly, we need another striker.
Yeah, this is how the summer pans out. Get Johnny Evans. I don't know if we're going to sell Magoo. That's kind of stalling as well. I agree with you. I think you sell Fred and Donnie and keep McTominay. He's just like a useful body. He could play. He could play at 10. He comes in and scores goals for Scotland all the time.
Exactly.
He could play deep. He could play in
Squad
midfield.
player.
He's fucking big. He's strong. He's a dog. I would keep him around. And if you're deciding a Rambat and dishing a couple midfielders, maybe swapping out Evans as your 4th CB, knowing that hey, worst comes to worst, we can play Shaw and then stick Molossi at left back. I do that only if you're going for Kane, because otherwise, and that's to be expected. We're basically just treading water this year. You bring in the Moroccan midfielder. It's we're like a top 4 club again, because
no,
you don't have anything near what you need to go after the league title with just a Rasmus Højlund. I know the signings, Onana, Mount, they're top signings, but we're still miles away from it.
No, this is a fighting for top 4 team.
Yes, I agree.
To be clear,
everyone else has gotten much better.
We're going to be fighting tooth and nail for top 4 with this team. Even if we get a Rambat and we sell McTominay,
we need Kane.
Sell Maguire, we're scraping by our fingernails. Game of inches for top 4.
That's coming, by the way.
Mark my words. I mean, you're going to hear a lot of hype. There's going to be a hype train, and you're going to get kicked in the teeth.
Title. We're not going after the title. We have
know
years
that,
to go.
You know how hot it is in England? Low fitness, you're going to be drowning, and that's when you see the wolves get you. They're going to pull you. It's because bad teams pull you into deep water in the August heat in England, and that's a real tough spot to be in. We've been there. We've seen it against Brentford, and this has been a hell of a preseason. To your point earlier, we're going to see how this plays out. but I've seen this movie before. Speaking of movies I haven't seen before, someone wants to buy Donnie Van de Beek. Can't believe
Can't be
this
a
one.
sale. Can't be a sale.
This is like they're going to sell him for like a McChicken and like a side of fries here. Real Sociedad have approached Manchester United for Donnie Van de Beek. First formal contact between clubs after initial talks on the player side last week. This is from Fabrizio Romano. This is great news, but again, the price is going to be pretty disappointing here. Over $40 million to Ajax. I feel like all of our money is just going to Ajax for these players. This one is just classic United buy high, sell low FC. Donnie, you can't do it under a Dutch manager. I got nothing for you.
No, this is, I mean, it doesn't seem like it on paper, but this is one of the worst deals we've done in the last 5 years. Because like
it's up there.
It really is. Spending $45 million for him in a summer we needed players in other positions, and then he basically hasn't played ever. Like, I can't remember a full 90 minutes he's played in. And at the same time, like you said, we're going to lose a shit ton of money. I'm sure he's on too many wages. Nobody's going to get near 40. No one's going to get near 20. And I'd be surprised if we could even sell him. I think it's almost certain, knowing how this club operates, it's going to be a loan. See if you can get fitness up and get a market for him. Like, I don't even think it's going to be a loan with an obligation. Maybe a loan with an option, but like it's going to be more loaning FC.
Loaning FC. All right, we're going to jump into fan questions, and then after this, we're going to recap our end of the season survey and announce the winner. So if you filled the survey out, thank you very much, and we'll announce the winner towards the end of the pod. Jumping into fan questions at Gordon Frederick, quote, which player will log the most minutes at center forward during August and September? Alex, let me know who you think.
Marcus Rashford. He's the only fit number 9 we have at the end of the day. Martial's hurt. Sancho's not a number 9. Rashford's a winger, but he could play number 9.
Boils my blood to hear that.
He is. He is.
No, I'm not. I'm saying 9. The fact that like this club is worth $6 billion and our best player we're playing out of position because we can't we don't have a front
lights
office.
Out on the left. He could play competently.
It's not good to play him at 9.
I agree. I'm not disagreeing with you. He's outrageous on the left.
We don't have how can we compete?
We're not competing.
No, but that's what I'm saying. Like, honestly, this has been a decade of just in quicksand dying, and it's like, how can we play this game when we take our best player and we play him out of position? Like, that is plan A, is take our best player, play him out of position.
Glazers out.
I understand, but it's just like, you need players. It's incredible. Imagine an American football team not having players in every position.
How many center backs?
We need players in every position. We need multiple players.
Does City have? They just signed an £80 million center back.
Multiple strikers.
Yes.
We need multiple strikers. And then he's like Richard Arnold, John Murtaugh. Hey, we need multiple strikers because if they get injured, we don't have anybody.
We're spending $7 million on Carrington, man. Like, come on, dude. They're playing a facade. They're just trying to keep us off their back as long as possible while they take as much money out of this club.
Manchester United without a striker. If you watch this team over the last 20 years, it does not compute. Manchester United without strikers does not compute.
Even since the 60s.
Also, not buying the top goal scorer in the EPL from a shit rival. That is the plan we've always done. It's like Harry Kane, 30 goals, add him right in. It doesn't matter the wages. It doesn't matter the price for the last year.
$100 million, he'd be worth it.
This is the Manchester United plan. It's just like Wayne Rooney, this great kid from Everton, you buy him. It's like you always overpay for the sure thing in the league. You cut your rivals down a peg, and then you get guaranteed goals. That is how United have done it during Sir Alex Ferguson's reign. We are not doing it that way, and I think we're going to just see the results. At 25, Christian GD 25, quote, how do you become a Manchester United season ticket holder? And where are we finishing the season? So the first question, Christian, how do you become a Manchester United season ticket holder? They got a wait list. I was on the wait list for over a decade, and I called them up and said, hey, what's the deal? Do you guys even look at this list? And then apparently there's this policy where if you put $200 down, you could be on a preferred list. And I did that.
Cash grab.
If you want to be a season ticket holder, call the ticket office. That's your best way to go to make sure you're doing everything. Ask them what the current policy is. Ask them what should I do. So then basically I was on the waiting list for 10 seasons. Then I got the premium waiting list, which I didn't know existed until I called them. And then COVID hit, and then I kept calling them during COVID, and that's sort of when season ticket holders weren't renewing, and I think that's how we were able to sort of slip into the Stretford end. Getting season tickets is one thing. Getting season tickets in the Stretford end, the heart of the Theater of Dreams, is a whole other thing. We lucked out. So the answer is you need 10 years on the waiting list, plus some money for the premium waiting list, and then maybe a pandemic you can get them. But I recommend calling and figuring it out because I have helped other American Red Devils get season tickets as well. They weren't able to get in the Stretford end, but they were able to get on the premium list and get them within a few seasons. So they're totally available. The trick is you need to be able to use 75% of the home games or donate them. So there is sort of, once you have them, there's some responsibility associated with the tickets and managing them, which we do. But obviously it's worth it given like Manchester United season ticket holders, like literally the most interesting thing about me. It's like literally top of the list. It's
coolest
like,
thing on my resume.
Hey, I got a shirt that says it. It's like, it makes me very proud. I love this team. And, we're just Muppets. So that's where we're at.
It takes, like anything takes, patience, persistence, and a little bit of luck. And we lucked out big time to be in the Stretford end and be able to share it with our fans. So good luck. It's a pain in the ass, but once you
totally
get
worth it. Totally
I do feel like I'm part of the. I mean, I know it's contentious. Give money to the Glazers, whatever. But it feels like you're part of the coolest club in the world. Because I mean, like you tell people that, like I'm a United season ticket holder, like oh shit, oh wow, that's cool.
That is cool, sir. How about you stop humble bragging on the pod?
Sorry.
Where are we finishing this season?
I think today, if you stop today, it's like it's a fight for third or fourth. It's like a fight for top four because every team we've gotten better. We haven't gotten as good as we need to get into the top two. And like I said, Chelsea are going to be back. Liverpool are going to be back. Villa has gotten better. Who else is chomping out? I mean, Spurs. I'm not worried about them. They're fucking fucked. But like every other team, Brighton, I don't think they're going to get better, but like Villa, like I said, are going to get better. And it's going to be super competitive. The Scousers are going to be on the up. And we are like an injury or two away from being like really bad shape, especially with Hoyland is coming into a new league. He's a young lad. He's not going to score 30 goals in the EPL. And I'm not saying we need a goal scorer who can score 30 goals in the EPL, but if you want to challenge right away, and we'd still be a couple injuries away from devastation. But like, I'm surprised we're not like pushing so hard on Kane. That being said, there could be a lot of shit going on in the background, but I'd make it all about Harry Kane. I know he wants huge wages, but like you said, it's like, well, you'll make up for that elsewhere because you guarantee top four.
We can pay.
He'll sell a
the
shit ton of
wages.
kits.
It
I know, but he
doesn't
wants a
matter.
lot of wages.
It doesn't matter. It's people trying to say like you can't pay him wages.
I know we can afford it. I'm
It's
not
like
saying we can afford. We can afford
United
200
can't
million.
afford cash up front. We can afford wages. It's like literally the problem. Where are we finishing? We're on the bubble. Fourth, fifth. I think overperformed last year. Treading water in the window. No striker, and everyone else is strengthening. It's going to be really hard to call. But if you watch United history over the last decade, Hans and Franz coming back. That's kind of how you would see it. Is like you kind of finish in top four, then you regress, and then you go back, and we just need.
We're a yo-yo club these days. Come on.
Exactly. At Randy Scrandy L quote: If protests against the Glazers go inside of OT, then what's the point? Why can't we replicate the protests of AC Milan when they entered their stadium to protest ownership? If we can't, the Glazers won't even notice. When do we acknowledge fans are hurting the club so badly? Look, Randy, I would suggest reading some history because match protests all the way back to the 1920s. This isn't the first time we've had a poor owner. This isn't the first time fan groups have tried to protest. But trying to get people to stop going into the stadium is just, as much as I'm like kind of like a passionate fan and believe that's probably the way to go, or have everyone leave the stadium at a certain time, fans just don't do it, and they've never done it. This isn't like you can go read the history of United, and they talk about how they tried to institute these protests, and the success is always debated. I think it's like if you're trying to get the stadium empty, you're up for failure because it's impossible to do that.
Yep.
Fans are traveling from around the world to go see the team. They're not just going to like not go. So it's a difficult one. And the Glazers don't care. I want to also like, it's not like I'm pro Glazer.
It'd be
here,
empty
but
every
they
day.
don't-
They wouldn't give a shit.
like they literally just don't care what fans think, and they care what sponsors think. And we were putting them on it. Like I want to say the summer when Richard Arnold had to meet those guys at the pub, they were sweating it.
Meat sweats.
They were really sweating it with the sponsors. And so if anything, I really think hitting the sponsors is the best way to get to the Glazers, because hitting the sponsors hurts them where they care. And I think they were sweating it. Now the sale process has reinvigorated them in some regard. So it really comes down to what's effective.
Yeah, and Randy Scrandy, always appreciate your perspective. Definitely understand your point of view, but it's like, it's hard to make, I don't know. I see it both ways. I get it. It's like, don't support the club. Don't buy nothing. Don't give the Glazers any owners. But at the same time, it's hard for me to justify making the fans, any fans that are a fan of this club, as a scapegoat. Because at the end of the day, like John said, it's like, this is not your normal club. We have the most cosmopolitan, global fan base in the entire world. You have people flying in from the States, from Asia, from all over Europe, and they're coming out of their way. They're spending a shit ton of money and time to get to that club. That, like, I get it, but at the same time, it's like they don't give a fuck. The Old Trafford could be empty for a year, and the Glazers wouldn't change their position. These people are hard, and they ain't gonna move because, you know, we hit their pockets a little bit, because we tried that. I think the sponsorship helps, because sponsors they don't like getting attacked on social media in a coordinated front, but like at the same time, I think we blame the Glazers and blame the EPL for allowing the Glazers and other Glazer equivalents into English football, and the fans. It's like we're passies. We're just along for the ride. There's very little we can do to affect change. We've tried protests, but they don't have that much of an impact. And sometimes they fuck you, because like we do these protests, the game gets pushed, and all of a sudden we have 3 games in 6 days. So it's like you want to do it, but the Glazers aren't changing their position.
No,
they're hard-nosed bastards.
The heat is off the Glazers. You can
It is.
feel it.
Oh, you can feel it.
The heat is kind of, it was on, it's off. And per Randy's point, we got to get it back on. If they stay, it's coming back. Don't worry, it's coming back. But we've never gotten it anywhere. Hashtag Glazers out.
Just wrote a Glazer out article. I mean, we hate the Glazers, but like at the end of the day, it's only so much we can do.
Look, we're jumping in the end of the season survey. Thank you so much to everyone who filled this out. You guys are the real MVPs. You know, we do not have any training in.
How did you tell?
Like, we didn't go
No
to like
training,
Syracuse sports media.
Communication
This
school.
is not like our career. We have no credentials to be doing a podcast
None.
at all whatsoever.
None.
So we really need your feedback. It's really helpful. So every summer, if you haven't filled it out, we'll be doing it next year. We solicit feedback on the pod. Hey, how are we doing? How'd you hear about us? Obviously we do this part-time. We have day jobs. We have little kids. I think the little kids have kind of crushed us over the last couple of years, because if any, shout out to the parents out there, any ARD parents dealing with diapers or anything like that. You guys are the real MVPs as well.
A lot more 5:45 pods these days. And that's not intentional.
It's Saturday. We're getting up at 5:45 to do it, because you got a lot going on during the day. And we just love this team. We love talking about it. So again, thanks. And we're just going to fly through some of the questions, get some feedback, give you guys, give each other feedback about how we're doing, and just kind of take the key points of the survey. First question was, how'd you hear about us? Everyone's coming from iTunes. 55% coming from iTunes. And second place is Spotify. So Spotify really jumped on the scene. People really use that for podcasts. So 22%. So if you are listening and you are a fan of the pod, rate us there. I think that does help us in some way, shape, or form. Drop a review. That goes a long way. Also, Twitter. People have heard of us. Google, word of mouth from other United supporters. And that's another great point. We don't have any backing. A lot of those United YouTube channels, they got literally private equity money backing them. So those guys are on payroll. They're being paid to do it. We literally are paying the pod to do this. We literally invest money into the pod every single year. This is a loss leader for us to do it as a passion project. So
that's the wife's question once a year. It's
anything,
when are you going to turn a profit on this goddamn thing?
So we do it for the love of it, but it's also, we love doing
it's worth it.
So if you want to tell another fan that goes a long way. So word of mouth is on there as well. So again, thank you to everybody who filled this out. How long you've been listening? Look, we got 70% over 2 years. Shout out to you guys.
Thank you.
16% 1 year and 10.9% 4 to 12 months, with less 0 to 3 months. So we need to get new listeners, I think, is the idea here, because we just got OGs, which we love.
Appreciate
the OGs,
ya.
but we need to grow. So again, if you know another United fan and you're thinking about it, just shoot them the pod. Again, it helps us grow organically. And then how long you've been a fan of United? 76% over 10 years. You've been there through the ups and downs. So you guys are the real MVPs. We got some OGs, some longtime United fans that are our listeners. And then rate your favorite podcast segments. Match recaps had 44% or 80% of the vote. Match previews. Actually, United in the News was second favorite. So match recaps number one, United in the News. Match previews, people are kind of not too hot on that. They don't like the Booking the Bookies segment. That's the lowest one. And the fan questions. Look, I think gambling odds are important. If you've ever been to the UK, you're going to the William Hill. You're going to put some money down. We won big on our last trip.
Ladbrokes we had a good haul.
Some churches
we had a good haul. Sometimes you do well, sometimes you don't do well.
I think it's like a sanity check to see where the odds are coming out. So if like United are going away, or like City's rated to win in Old Trafford, it's kind of telling you it kind of tells you where the tide is. Like everyone's anti-United, the chips are down. So it doesn't take up too much time, but we do hear you, and thank you for the feedback. After this question, we said,
Sorry, I saw a second response. Go ahead.
The next question we asked, are there any segments you would like to see featured on the pod that aren't? Just a few highlights here. We do read all the feedback. Everyone who wrote feedback, we are reading every single one, but we just thought the highlights here would just be good. The first one, in the match preview section, can you add where to watch the games in the U.S.? I have a heck of a time keeping straight on how to watch all of the streaming platforms, which ones we should subscribe to and can watch every game. This one we should do.
And we will do.
And we will do. Because, again, I wake up at 5 a.m. I'm like, what is, I go to Peacock, it's not on. I literally, that's how I figured it out, is I literally open Peacock and it's not on there. Then I'm like, okay, it's on cable.
Right.
So even I have trouble with this, and it's just insane. So we should, in our season preview, talk about what streaming platforms you need in the game. Probably got to throw that up on the website. And then every match we will be telling the American fans where to watch. So amazing feedback here. Thank you for that. And the next one was, what player can John beat in a foot race? That should be a segment.
Not a lot. It's like Tom Heaton. Weghorst is gone, bro. You can't say him anymore. That was one of the great storylines last season, I must say. The Weghorst, John, and
how bad
50-yard race. Would love to see it. We're the best fans in the world. So we get a lot from this survey feedback. We also get a lot of laughs because we really appreciate your perspective, your point of view, and your sense of humor, because it's, makes our day.
Next one, I'm always a fan of the history episodes and episodes with special guests like Stan. Would love an episode about the best ways to plan a trip over the pond, like best places to fly into, places to stay, how to get tickets. That would be fantastic for lots of people like me who've yet to make the journey but want to. I think this is a great point. The real issue with special content like this is there's so many games. This season will be less because there isn't a Winter World Cup and there's going to be international breaks. And I think a segment like this would be great. And then we can clip it and then put it up on the website too for people, because we get a lot of requests for how to go across the pond. And we have learned our lesson doing a million different ways and kind of figured out a good plan unless there's a train strike. Next one here, call in from pod fans, or you could ask to send match reactions with voice recordings, no longer than a minute. We've done this one. I've wanted to create like a 1-800 number that people could just call into and leave a voicemail, like hammered. They're watching the game, have a few dark ales at the pub, and they could just call in and just like leave a rant.
Hammered.
Emailing it in, the reason why it's like we just haven't had enough traction with it. We've tried it. So the key is variability. So maybe we try the 1-800 number with the voicemail for like a couple of months and see if we get anybody. But I think I think we do need to get some more fan reactions, voice and audio, given we're a pod, because we do get the Twitter questions, but I think switching it up would be good.
Yeah, and to be fair, it's partly because like we're so against the gun. You know, we have like such tight schedules, and there's been so many games. So every pod we're doing a recap and then a preview with very little turnaround time. So, you know, sometimes we're doing it right after the game, first thing in the morning. Those 4:30 games, we're doing 6:30 pods. So
That's a good point.
We're trying our best, and we did try the audio recaps from fans, but sometimes we wouldn't get it quickly enough to do the turnaround. Now sometimes we do the pod the next day, and there is enough time. So maybe the 1-800 number will take a look at that. So you're the head of all technical
Just a
things.
random rant. I just like it's
I
good
like
to
a
get
good
the
rant.
fan
I like a good rant from our great fans.
Yeah, I mean, like I grew up in New Jersey listening to New York sports radio. Like you gotta love the fan rant. The other points people hit on was covering the women's team, more history in the academy. The history will definitely be revamping this season, mainly because we're going to have the time without the Winter World Cup. The women's team, again, I view that as like a whole separate team. Again, I pumped on the women's team. They're playing at Old Trafford now, some of their games, which I think is great. They're on the rise, but there's just like, and also the academy is a great point. It's just like, it's a whole nother team with different fixture set and other matches. And like you and me are barely keeping up with just the first team.
Right.
But I do believe that, like, you know, if they were commenting, I think they were in the FA Cup final, got beat by Chelsea last season. We didn't even comment on that. We probably should be commenting a little more on like big milestones. But again, this is great feedback we will take into account. And then the next question was just rate the audio and production quality of the pod. It was decently high, probably around an 8 or a 9. We did have some detractors here on the scale of 1 to 10.
1-1.
No, we did have our first survey troll who literally like rated everything the lowest and was
Oh, that
literally
was me. That was me, John.
and then literally was like, F you, stop doing this horrible podcast.
That's
So,
perfect.
like,
Appreciate you.
So
that's all the fans out
we
there.
are literally like, one thing about doing like fan content and then having social is like people say really mean things to you. But I'm also like, the funny thing about that is like I love how all these people with social media struggle with this. And it's like, I grew up in New Jersey, so like this is how I grew up. I went to public high school, so it's like at the end of the day, someone says like something like mean to you, it's like I don't even pay attention nor read it nor respond. I think the problem is people will get so amped they like have to clap back. I don't even like respond to people like that. So I think it's funny that somebody cares enough to write like a troll review of our pod.
That means you're doing
I think
something right.
I actually think you're doing something good if people are kind of like coming at you a little bit. But
we don't even subscribe to the typical like engagement and arrangement thing where people like the talk sport thing where people just put out bad takes because they'll get more reaction
no,
to
we
it.
put out bad takes because we're morons.
Yeah, exactly. Our bad takes are based on our lack of knowledge, understanding, and depth of the game. So appreciate the fans. Really do.
So on the audio, just to give you the color, we literally mix this live. So in order to get we do not edit it. So it goes literally straight into the recorder. We have a mixing board. So sometimes our balance is off. Sometimes the sound is off. It's just because we're trying to juggle too many things while we're doing it. Again, you want to support the pod on Patreon. Maybe we can hire an audio engineer to process the file after we record it. But we literally we don't have the funds to do that.
And there's no
so
off-season.
We're kind of at the limit of what we can accomplish just because there's no one else. Like usually when people record content, if you watch anything, there's a producer in the back mixing it for them while they're talking.
And then they edit
So
it.
when Alex is getting real fired up and yelling into the mic, they can turn him down. And instead, I'm yelling back at him. So there's like, it's hard to do it all live. So I appreciate you guys but we have come a long way from early days.
We have.
As well as, traveling, the audio quality is going to be lower when we're both on vacay, but we'd rather get the content out with maybe a lower quality of audio.
I think that has to be said, which is like we never take any time off. We never miss a pod. We've been doing it straight now for 6 years. So like vacations with the family, vacations with the wives, boys trip, like
Weddings, childbirth, as
anything, like hospital visits. We're never missing nothing. So those are the pods probably where the sound quality is the worst, especially when we're both remote, fucking international, right? With like, Christ, I was doing a pod and I was in Vietnam. We had to do the time difference plus like the not the best internet connection. So we try our best. It's not for a lack of trying, but like you said, like if you talk to a top podcast, they're not literally doing a live feed.
What they would do
into their corner and then just putting it online.
No, they would hire somebody
Yes.
to like edit the file
Yes.
after they record it. And number one, that would delay the release.
Yep.
Number two,
Cost a lot.
that would improve the audio quality. But yeah, we don't have the money to pay someone to do that, and we just direct send it as soon as it's done. So if you guys, if somebody cares, want to support us on Patreon and like write us a message, hey, I'm going to support you on Patreon and use this for audio engineering, like absolutely go for it. Talking about the website, people, we asked, hey, what do you want to see on our website? People said travel guide, big one. This is the number one most voted thing. The travel guide is in process. It's going to come up there. I think part of this pod is getting the American Red Devils to make the pilgrimage to Old Trafford and enabling that. We really feel great when we're helping fans get to Old Trafford, because when we went, it was so, how do we get there? How do you get tickets? Where do you stay? Like, it was all these questions. And since we've done it so many times, we really think helping fans go is a great thing. People would like to see academy updates, Glazer financial updates. I know you just posted one. And then the monthly email newsletter, working on that one. But again, it's just coming from Alex and myself. So it's just additional things we're taking on in different projects. So it just takes a little longer. I think the theme of this podcast is we end up doing everything. It just takes longer because we just don't have the resources to kind of ramp all these things up simultaneously. 17, the question, what do you like most about the podcast? These are great. The sometimes heated but friendly banter, the high expectations followed by the depressing lows, and authenticity. I thought this is like...
Nailed it.
You literally can't... That if you had to describe the pod in like
One sentence.
one sentence, that is it. It's like the sometimes heated but friendly, high expectations followed by depressing lows and authenticity.
Welcome to being a Manchester United fan in 2023.
Muppet from the couch feel, not taking anything too seriously. Great back and forth between John and Alex. Appreciate you. It's easy to take the good feedback here. The way it feels like I'm having a conversation with my buddies about the club, and no ads is great. Shout out to you. The news surrounding the club, the banter about other clubs, and tactical breakdowns. I live in rural America, and I don't have very many people to talk, many people around me to talk soccer with. Y'all are an outlet for me. Right back at you. I think that is the point of the pods. Casual fan view, fan base, fan frustrated, everything in between. This isn't like hopium, only say good things about the team because I'm getting paid by them. This is just straight up, hey, I am a numpty. This is how I feel about this squad I love and care about in an irrational fashion. That's what we are. It's evident the two of you get along very well and enjoy doing the show even when the team is on the slide. It's clear how much you enjoy and love United, and when they're back to peak that brought you in, and want them back to the peak that brought you in when you were young. Yes, I want trophies.
Yes,
I
this
want
guy is dying for
titles.
trophies.
I'm dying. I want titles.
They're not happening. Just get used
I
to it.
want titles.
I've baked in a
curb-stomping the
30-year
competition.
drought. I'm assuming a 30-year drought. That's what happened to the Scousers when they were at their peak, and then the big crash down. We had an unmatched period of success. We're due for a come down. Glazes ain't leaving, bro. 20 more years of bad football. But I love you guys, so appreciate it.
Okay, what do you like least about the podcast? I love this feedback. Anyone out there who's trying to get better or doing anything, you want to hear how you can improve. You know, you got to have tough skin.
Jesus.
Like
Jersey
but this
Jersey
is like,
helped.
I think this is honestly like, yeah, growing up in New Jersey helped, because you know what? Things that may hurt your feelings are like, you might take a little too seriously. It's like, it's good feedback. This is great. And I love the negative. When we get the survey, I go straight here. Someone said that it's only 2 days a week. Maybe add some shows. Maybe have one of your guys write for your website host. I know you guys are tapped out time-wise. Again, appreciate like the negative positive. Gotta love that. Like, you know, I love the negative positive. Like the negative is it's only 2 days a week.
Sandwich.
Appreciate that one. The explicit language, we get this every single year. Again, it's hard because some of the feedback is both sides. So authenticity is great, but then the language, we choose to be authentic, and cursing is just, I think, a part of the modern day vernacular. I even fight with my wife about this. Like, when is my 3-year-old going to learn about, X, Y, and Z? It's about not knowing when to not swear. And I think talking football with your boys, it's like, if you're being honest, that language is used, and it might limit where the pod can be played. But I just think that
I curse too much. It's probably mostly me. Yeah,
but I'm
anyone
like,
who's
Fuddruckers.
this team, we put so much time, and I had like this team is like it's like a religion for me. Like, I am so emotionally invested in Manchester United and the club. So I apologize if I get a little explicit sometimes. It's just a conveyance of emotion and like how much I really care about this club and how much it just kicks you to the curb every time. But we hear you. I guess some people are listening with their kids or younger adults. So
this isn't kid-friendly content.
no, it isn't.
This
club ain't kid-friendly content.
I just think that's if you go to Old Trafford, it's not kid-friendly. People yelling, people like, and England's got a few extra zingers that aren't really allowed in the United States.
We don't use. Old Trafford's the den. You go to Millwall, you'll hear things you never wanted to hear.
Thank you for saying it, but again, the pod is just a decision we made that we're just gonna sling it when it needs to be slung. That it isn't daily. Someone says like, of course, thank you for the positive, negative. Some questionable takes, LOL.
Definitely.
I love that's a great one.
Bad takes.
This is an all-timer, which is basically the negative is like you guys come up with some wacky ideas, and sometimes you're just like, John goes down the rabbit hole with like the X-Files, like conspiracy theories around United. Alex is like going off on like Cavani signing. This is just, I honestly want to say the questionable takes are like, that's what we're supposed to do. Fans, for fans, by fans. We are not smarter than you. We do not claim to know more about the game. We're just Muppets that come up with some hysterical takes, and sometimes they're funny. Throw a stake bet on it. Like, I think this guy thought Depay was going to score 15 goals when he signed him.
That's not the point.
Like
the point is that our takes are not like intentionally. We're not like Gabbard, whatever the guy's name is on TalkSport, who just says like the most outrageous anti-United shit, so people will give him attention.
Yeah.
Like, it's working for him. Honestly, he's going to make a killing just doing that because he just has the dumbest shit imaginable. Our takes are legitimate takes. This is how we feel, so they can be off, but they are genuine. So that is something. I'm just saying we don't just make shit up because we're like, wow, people will be engaged, enraged, more likes, more. No, no. This is what we feel, and
stream of consciousness.
I'm wrong all the time, all the time.
This is literally stream of consciousness. Think some flow of the podcast could be improved, just interrupting each other less. Totally agree. Look, I put my hand up here. Number one interrupter. But I'm also going to say, like, we were raised by wolves in New Jersey, which basically the way you learn how to communicate in New Jersey is just talk louder
and faster.
That's like it. So I think the good banter comes from us having that dynamic. And then I know that I am like the big interrupter. I know it's a big problem and something I got to work on. But, when Alex says something outrageous, I'm just like, my gut New Jersey fan take is just like talk louder.
Not only refute him, but interrupt his train of thought.
Yes,
so I cannot hear his bad take anymore. I want to crush that bad talk at the origin.
It's bad. It's a bad habit.
We're working on it.
I'm consciously working
on it. It's because we're also best friends,
I appreciate
and we interrupt each other all the time as we just are doing it in the moment right now. I don't think you see that in a lot of pods where people are like have been friends for like 15 years before they started the pod. So there's going to be a different element. We try to stay professional, but this is as professional as we can act. Is the two of us on a pod is like...
You should see our wives,
Jesus.
how they roll their eyes. Next one.
This is for you.
I'm not a big fan of the Antony negativity. Sure, it was a weaker first season, but hardly a bust. There's clearly upside on the signing. No need to evaluate it negatively yet. Fair. I'm going to say, look, someone wants to say, that's absolutely fair. I have definitely been negative on Antony and maybe overly negative. And if we signed them for 45 million pounds, I would not be nearly as negative. It is like, and it just grinds my gears at the price we paid for what we got. And honestly, some of that, like there's part of that negativity that goes at the manager because it's like, come on, this guy was a bluffer. He's got no speed. He's got nothing.
Easy the negativity, bluffer. Let's go.
No, but like,
I know.
look, someone's allowed
This
to-
is a sandwich. You have to use this as a chance to cut Anthony
just
again.
let me
I'm
address this.
I'm interrupting you.
This point is for me.
It is.
And I got to address it. And the point that I'm trying to say is that price tag is play, score, affect the game, improve United by a significant degree. He should have been the number one performing signing, the number one transformative signing last season. So I think the negativity comes from the price and what that bar demands. Now, if he just comes in and say, hey, yeah, he came from the Dutch league, probably needs another year, I can get on board with that. But the fact that he was back to the tune of £80 million plus, that's Paul Pogba.
85.
That's one of the most expensive players we've ever purchased. And the fact that he will struggle this season. He cannot beat a man for pace.
Okay.
You look at where we need to be, and that's the point. It's like I have trouble not calling it like I see this one, and then this one looks like not quite. Who is the guy trimming the hedges at?
The pie?
No, the even worse.
Oberton,
yeah. This one has legendary bad signing for United.
You're killing him. Keep going. He's like a big fan. You took the opportunity to take fan feedback about how negative you are with Anthony and just slay
That's
him.
my gut.
Slay him the
What
guy.
am I-
Just keep slaying the guy.
But I'm just saying, my view
doesn't choose the
comes
transfer
from
fee.
the transfer fee
we
and what he
overpaid.
should do.
Yeah, of
right?
Because we overpaid.
That's all I'm trying to articulate.
Too.
But like the fact that I don't think that he's going to perform, I don't think that should be controversial. But I do agree. I get upset and emotional about it, and I do kind of beat the dead horse. And should not do that as much with Anthony. But maybe that's kind of it's just like another one. Like you're right. Anthony's getting more heat than Sancho just because Anthony is the latest 70 million plus right winger who ain't performing. But it's just like I'm just kind of dying at that point. It has to do with more of the history and the price tag. So and unfairly, he has been criticized by me, and this is a great point that I will work on next season, despite me getting fired up by even talking about it. I'm not really bothered by it, but I only say because I feel like to have say something. The argument between John and Alex feels like it's becoming worse recently, sir. We've been chipping each other. Apparently, we've been chipped. I feel like towards the end of last season, we were kind of getting at it when United started falling out of top four. I think when you see the team start cracking, Alex and I start cracking because
That's right.
That's just fair because
we were ripping the
we're
pod was
frustrated
ripping.
about the team.
Yep.
We're kind of having hot takes. We're from Jersey. We wear it on our sleeve, but there's no hard feelings between the two of us. I just think that's part of our dynamic. It's like the pod would have to stop if we did what Arsenal did. Like we would literally have
need
to
a year off. John, I need to have to get a guest host.
Almost losing top four. I feel like we were cracking there. So yeah, this is great feedback again.
It's because it's a fan pod, though. It's because we're Muppets and we're just like straight up biased fans with the emotional element. This is reflective of the next comment as well. It's like, because you get the good, bad, and ugly. You just get it straight. Like we do it right after a game. We just watched it. John's bitching about how shit United played for 90 minutes. Fucking drop points to Wolves. We give it to you hot because we are hot, and we just it's a reflection of how much we care about the team, and also just our straight up takes. It's hot. It's like they're not like the pro middle of the ground takes. I try to sometimes be
Hot off the press.
but it's off the press, and it's an emotional fan take. And that's,
Hot off the line.
I like to think that's why some of you guys come back is because we're just authentic fans. Can't help it. Could be better.
Yeah, but no one can
it's
be
straight up
perfect,
emotion.
right? And I don't think the idea we're trying to be these certain type of broadcasters who are perfect and they only say the right thing. I think we're the opposite of that. You're coming to us for some crazy takes, some yipping at each other, some hot, this team killing me, because this isn't just the Denver Broncos or some random team. This is Manchester United, the most famous football club in the world, that the world sport, who has won more titles than any team in England, the greatest of English football. There is an element of underperformance that has to be addressed. This isn't just some random team gosh darn, I hope we get them this year. And I feel like there's something about the team where people are kind of getting lulled to sleep by that, where it's everything's positive, everything's going to work out. And it's been a decade with no title. And they forget what it took to win it. Like, you got to put your boot on somebody's neck. The intensity, like, this team had to show, and the resilience we had. And I feel like the fan base has kind of been like lulled into this.
Well, you can see it both
ways. Like
whinging doesn't help.
Kid announcement videos and all this, and like announcing players that aren't going to help us win the title, and everyone getting so buzzed about everything all the time when we're not performing. It goes to the next quote. I think sometimes it's a little overly negative. The issue is we've all slipped into the last 10 years. I think it's better to reflect on the joy, the ups and downs. I think something like Talk of the Devils, the Athletic podcast, does very well. They never overreact to losses. The thing about podcasts like them is they are literally on the press roll.
They're journos.
They cannot criticize the team because they depend on access to the team. So it's England is transactional journalism at its best, where if you say anything bad about the team, then you lose your access. So there is something around those lines. And I think we probably need to be able to criticize the team, given the expectations that Manchester United should be champions, as well as not get overly negative. But being just trying to only say good things, I don't think is us, and I don't think that's authentic.
I agree. I mean, like I said before, we're a fan podcast. We're not professional journalists. We don't make money or get paid on this. And we just do it because we enjoy talking about this club. We love the community. And also, we like to give it straight. And, like, that's just how fans feel. I think sometimes it's a good reflection of how fans feel and how emotionally engaged we are as fans, because this club is not just a hobby. It is, like, a passion. It is part of our life. My wife is like, when's United playing this week? It's like, it's part of our day-to-day life. And you know what? Sometimes we get too emotional. Sometimes we cut a team. I try to stay positive, but like at the same time, I get it. Everybody wants something different, and we can't have like a one-take-all, but we just try to give you guys a mix and an idea of where we see anything at any given point, because that's all we are. We're fans. We love this club. We've been watching this team for 20 years, and I hope it doesn't take another 20 years to win a title, but I'm setting my expectations accordingly, because that way you can only be, surprised.
Yeah, but I'm not ashamed to call like I see it, and that's part of, like, I grew up with New York sports radio.
I know,
and if you know how New York sports is, it's just like if you're a fan of a certain big team and they're not winning, they're killing them. That's what you have to call it like you see it. And I
yeah, but everybody listening to this pod is not from New York.
Yeah,
New Jersey,
but I feel like there's overly positive United content out there that there's enough of that that people can listen to. You want to hear the biased fan take, and sometimes we're going to kill the lads when they deserve to be killed. We're going to be overly optimistic when Ole's at the wheel, right? We were full on that train and all to the upside, and we got kicked in the teeth when we played PSG at home. And so being a fan is a humbling experience. And this team is just like, we just want the best for this team, and we want to see them succeed, because unfortunately it matters a disproportionately like a large amount to us. Like if United won the title, it would be like, it'd be unbelievable. It's just one of those things
one day.
It's one of those things where, Santa Claus, you're hoping he's real. You're hoping he's going to deliver you that 21st title, and that's what this podcast is all about. But look, we really appreciate all the feedback, the good, the bad, the ups and the downs, and it shouldn't stop with a survey. You can always get in touch with us, AmericanRedDevils@gmail.com. If you email us, we email you back. I mean, you can have access directly to Alex and I. It's us running this podcast for the love of the game. So the feedback shouldn't be in a survey. If we have a questionable take that kind of grinds your gears, shoot us an email. If you think I'm hitting Anthony over the head
I
too
tell
much,
him this too. We also tell each
too
other
much.
this. Hey, guy, we got to stop interrupting each other. Guy, we got to stop being positive. It's like we're our own biggest critics. We're always trying to get better. That's why we do these surveys. This is like I said, this is year 6. We're almost at 500 fucking podcast. There you go. That's an F word at the end of the pod. And we are genuinely trying to do better, but we're not perfect. And we just we rip it hot, dude. We don't edit it. We don't write a script. We just literally just yabba, 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 a million miles a minute. And sometimes it's a little too hot. Sometimes it's a little too cold. And sometimes it's
just right. Sometimes it's just right.
Sometimes
it's just right. But again, we really appreciate it. I think that's it. That's the podcast. But we got to announce our winner here, Ferran.
Woo! Congrats.
Big win. We're going to get a American Red Devils swag bag. We're going to shoot you an email. Thank you so much. Alex will ship it out. Beanies, scarves, blankets, stickers, pins, the whole nines coming your way. Really appreciate you and appreciate all the fans listening. And thank you so much for filling out the survey. We read all the feedback. We only highlight like a few zingers on the pod, but we go through it all the ideas, and we implement them throughout the next year. And like I said, if you ever want to get in touch with us, AmericaRedDevils@gmail.com. Support the podcast on Patreon, patreon.com/AmericaRedDevils, AmericaRedDevils.store for any merch, scarves, shirts, stickers, you name it. And also check out our website, AmericaRedDevils.com. Get the content in. Sir, give us our top 10 downloads last 7 days.
Ooh, sir, give me 1 second while I pull it up. But thank you, like John said, thank you for everyone that wrote the reviews. They mean a lot. We take it to heart. We're always trying to get better. And we appreciate you going out of the way to write good, strong, impactful written responses. Number 1, top 10 downloads last 7 days. How you doing? How you doing? Chicago, Illinois, Los Angeles, California, New York, Dublin, Ireland, Melbourne, Australia, Brooklyn, New York, San Francisco, California, Charlotte, North Carolina, Houston, Texas, and last but not least, Las Vegas, Nevada. Appreciate all the American Devils listening week in, week out, EPL season.
So the best
right
part
around the corner.
The best part about the feedback is like, hey, John, don't criticize Anthony. John starts ranting about how
You
Anthony's
like ripped
horrible.
him. Like, what does that say?
He's a bum.
Give him feedback. Like, literally, he's like,
Stop
by the
ripping, I
way,
can't
last
stop.
thing about Anthony, you like cut a guy. New cuts,
Like,
too. He's like,
seriously?
cut him.
Like-
Can't beat a man. Got no base. Bluffer. You call him a bluffer, by the way. You call him a bluffer.
Sir, I call my own son a bluffer.
I know
when
you
he's,
do.
when he's
To
going
his
to bed
face.
and he's crying, I'm like, you're being a bluffer. It's like, you know.
He's
so
always like this. John is always like, I mean, we go work out
I'm
5
working-
in the morning. He's like yipping at me. That fucking Anthony bluffer. Bro, it's 5 a.m. I just woke up. He's like,
I
what are you in a
can't-
bad mood? I'm like,
I
I'm
can't believe they literally.
He's got one speed.
Okay, here we go. Over under 10 goals, Anthony.
What in all competitions or in EPL?
All comps. It's got to be over. It's got to be over.
I'm
It
calling
has to
push.
be.
10. He's gonna score 10.
Look.
I'm
Nobody
rooting for
wants
him.
him to score more than
Yeah, I
me. You know,
I don't think that's true.
80 mil. I just
85,
think.
sir.
I think people need to
85,
look up
85.
who's been signed for 85 mil and like that.
Harry Magoo and
And
Paul
this is
Pogba.
the price tag. It influences you, but I'm gonna do my best. Anthony, I love you. I'm not getting anti kit just yet, but
No,
we
don't
shall
get
see.
it.
What a pod. Appreciate everybody. We're gonna leave you with this one. 20 times, 20 times. Let's go.